ません。こんにちは。Whew. I just got done with a little run. I usually don't run midday, but I have so much to get done at the apartment. I need to clean up. And so I decided to squeeze one in before I take you home with me and we get some chores done. Here we go. Welcome to my home. So weird. Welcome to my home. I also live here with my cat Campbell. She's up there right now. She might come and make a guest appearance. I wanted to create today. I have a lot of things I want to get done this week, but I'm sure you can relate where it's really hard to work when your workspace, aka my home, since I do freelance work, is a mess. My mind cannot just like get calm. It cannot get organized. It just doesn't feel open enough to get creative. So I thought, why not get cleaned up in my apartment and do a little story time? The biggest question I get from people that I meet, and I tell them that I'm living in Tokyo, or that I've been here for, 5.5 years now, is why? Why did you come to Tokyo? Isn't California great? So I thought I would reflect myself and share why I came to Tokyo. It's a really good question. Oh my gosh, I don't even know if I could multitask. So I moved to Tokyo in 2018, August. I had just turned 30 years old, literally like 2 weeks, not even 2 weeks, like a week before I moved here. I remember because it was my dad's birthday was the day I moved here, August 16th. Yeah, lots of August babies in our family. And where was I? So I was living in San Francisco at the time. And by then I was hitting my 5 years living in San Francisco. If you know San Francisco, I was living in the Outer Sunset, 22nd and Kirkham. I really loved that neighborhood. It was also close to the park like I am here in Tokyo, and just kind of more of a sleepy ocean residential part of San Francisco. I loved my roommate. I have some nightmare stories about our landlord, but that could be another video. And so, yeah, I was coming up at a time in my life where, I don't know, like you have these moments in your life where you're just kind of thinking about your future and like, what do I really want in life? And do I want to be living here? Where do I see myself in 5 years? And one big dream of mine has always been to live abroad. You know, I've traveled a lot when I was younger. I've been to a lot of countries. I studied abroad in Singapore and traveled all over Southeast Asia. But I had never actually lived and worked in another country in my adulthood. And I figured if I'm going to do it, I should do it soon. And I think that 5-year mark, I don't know, there's something about that 5-year mark that makes you kind of stop and think. And San Francisco was the longest place I had ever lived in up until that point, other than like the home I grew up in San Diego, right? So I get this itch, you know, like I can't stay here. I gotta do something else. Like I'm kind of a person that wants to make some drastic changes in their life because I feel like the bigger the risk you take, just the more growth you acquire and the more you learn about yourself. And it's just so thrilling and exciting, even if it's scary at the same time. Like after I went to school in Santa Cruz and then I moved out to the East Coast, for work, which was a big move. And then after the East Coast and spending some time out there, ending up in DC, that's when I came to San Francisco. And, you know, I had recently just pivoted my career. I was studying a master's in sport management, started working in the sports industry, which then led to my job at Twitter. And just, I felt like there was this momentum happening in my life where all these opportunities were presenting themselves. And I had agency, I had choice, I had options. And I really didn't want to ignore the soul part of myself that wanted to still explore and venture out and try new things, even though objectively my career was going fine. So as I'm starting to think about like what's next for me, when I was thinking about moving abroad, I had grown up learning Spanish because that's just what we do in California. You know, San Diego's so close to Mexico. I had so many Mexican friends. I was, you know, you're listening to Spanish all the time, no matter where you are in San Diego. All of our, like a lot of our signage in our towns are after Spanish names. It just felt like a natural progression, and I've always wanted to be fluent in another language. English is my native language, and it is, I will proclaim for now, the only language that I can confidently say I'm fluent in. I'm gonna make another video about my Japanese language skills. So, so if that video is not already out. Yeah, so when I was doing my initial research to move abroad, I was looking at Spain. I love Spain. Spain was the first country the second country I ever traveled to outside of like Mexico and France. And I just fell in love with the Mediterranean, and I could totally see myself retiring in Spain. I just love the culture. I love the way they speak Spanish. And I just was like, okay, Spain is definitely on the list. But I was also looking at Mexico. I love Mexico. Mexico City is an awesome city. And then Buenos Aires, because of Messi. And just also, I love that there's this European feel in Buenos Aires, but it's in South America. I've actually never been to South America. So this is where my mind was going. I was like, I'm just gonna, you know, put all the options on the table where I can do maybe like a Spanish immersion program, maybe volunteer for a nonprofit, maybe find a job. I don't know. I didn't have a concrete plan at the point. It was just kind of starting to fantasize and imagine and visualize what a future could look like. And then something funny happened. I'm such a big believer of manifesting, right? So I had no idea what this like living abroad situation would look like. And so what I started to do was just to say things out loud, and started to talk to my friends and like people I'd meet, like, yeah, I'm like thinking about moving to another country. This is what I'm thinking. You know, have you ever done that before? You know, if you ever hear of things, like definitely let me know. Just kind of just starting to put it out in the universe, like this is what I want and what I desire. And the universe is a funny bitch because sometimes she will give you what you desire, but not in the way you think, right? So literally, this is how my memory recalls it, is that one day I was in the office at Twitter headquarters in San Francisco, and my boss at the time, I think I was like the only team member around at the time. Our team was really small. He came up to me and was just like, hey, do you want to move to Tokyo? I'm probably like totally misremembering exactly how it all went down, but it was something like that, where it was kind of like super out of the blue. I never even considered moving to Japan, which is weird because my dad is from here, my grandma is from here. You know, my mom's from the Philippines, which is not too far away. But I just didn't have an interest in coming back to Asia, because after studying abroad in Singapore, I was like, oh, I've been there, done that. I kind of want to try something completely different. But if you think about it, Japan is like completely different, and I never thought about it, but I remember immediately being like, yeah, I'll move to Tokyo. Because I felt like that was the sign from the universe that was like, here's your ticket, here's support, you know, you're gonna get all your expenses covered to move to another country, and here you go. So it was like an offer I couldn't refuse, even though I had no idea what I was in for, right? I've never been to Japan before, you know, other than my exposure growing up with my Japanese side of the family, eating Japanese food, hearing the Japanese language. I didn't know much about Japan at all. So it was just like this, okay, here's an opportunity to have a new adventure. Let me just try it. No idea what this is gonna look like or what's gonna happen. So yeah, that is the impetus of why Japan, why Tokyo. It was really driven by work and career opportunity. So at the time, I was on the live video like operations team with Twitter, which was a fairly new team. And Twitter, well now X, Twitter's second biggest market is Japan. A lot of people don't know that. Japanese users use Twitter/X a lot here. And so it made sense to expand our team. Oh, here comes Campbell. Uh-oh. Hi, baby. And bye. We already had some teammates in Europe. And so I guess my boss was just, you know, seeing the future and wanting people in time zone to support our Asian partners, because we were already doing a lot of work in Japan already. And so I just felt like it was also an amazing career opportunity to come basically build a team and support our business from not only Japan, but you know, Singapore, Australia, India, Indonesia, all the Southeast Asian countries. So in Korea, that's so exciting. So yeah, that was the major impetus for why I came here. But there was also personal reasons, right? My dad is from here. He grew up here until he was about a teenager before moving to Oakland, California with the rest of his brothers and my grandma and grandpa. And I thought it was just a wonderful opportunity for me to experience life here and his culture and how my grandmother grew up. In addition, like, we're close to the Philippines, which is where my mom grew up, but also my dad spent time there in the Navy. My grandfather's side is also from the Philippines on my dad's side. So I have a ton of family in the Philippines. So just like being based in Asia just it made sense to me. And that's what happened. But going back to where I was in San Francisco, you know, I was in a pretty serious long-term relationship. I thought like this was my person, we're gonna get married, like everything just kind of started falling into place and making sense for me. But then when I made this decision to move to Tokyo, it was I made the decision a year before I actually moved here, which was actually really nice because it afforded me time to like emotionally and mentally get prepared for the move. But also then I could come over here on business trips and actually just start and get to know my colleagues, but also get to know the culture in the country and the city and start scouting out places to live. So yeah, if you're thinking about moving to another country, if you can give yourself some time to make that big move, because a move is like incredibly stressful, and even more so when you're doing it to another country. So I was really blessed to have that time. Plus I brought my cat Campbell over, which I could explain in another video, like all the logistics that go down with bringing a pet abroad, especially to Japan. It's a lot. So grateful for that time. Long story short, me making that decision to move to Tokyo was kind of the beginning of the end for us. As as you can probably tell, like I don't think I made that decision selfishly, but I made it for myself for sure. And I was definitely in a like place in my life where I was just like, I need to take the reins of this journey I'm on and make choices that are going to be fulfilling for me. And there's other factors to why our breakup happened. It's not just that, but I think that was a clear signal to me that I was going to blaze my path no matter what, and that I wasn't going to have my decision swayed by anybody else in my life, including my partner. Of course, I didn't like, that wasn't my intention coming in. I definitely came in offering this opportunity to him as a cool, oh, there's like a, hold on 1 second. Konnichiwa, どうぞ。はい、こんにちは。
書き留めですね。はい。住所、お名前、
はい、
大丈夫ですか？
間違いない。はい。
サインお願いします。
ペン。はい、ありがとうございます。ありがとうございます。
はい、ありがとうございます。失礼します。
Okay. Delivery guy, random mail from the Shibuya ward. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, I presented it as this like awesome adventure that we would embark on together. And I every intention I had was that with him in mind, that we were going to move to Japan together. But I appreciate the fact that it's a big decision. now like reflecting back, like I can't imagine the pressure maybe that I put him through with that, and not giving him space to really think about what he wanted in this arrangement. And moving to, I mean, he's like a tall white guy from the Bay Area, like how just more difficult maybe it would have been for him versus me, who, has family here, who's a little more familiar with Asian culture. I had a job lined up, he wouldn't. So, I was asking a lot, and I don't think I fully appreciated that at the time. But again, like that was the only reason why things just ultimately didn't work out. We broke up very amicably. It was very loving. We had very, very different futures in mind for ourselves. So yeah, so imagine like I just broke up with my boyfriend of 4 years at the time. He just moved in, like we were living with each other for a couple months already by the time we broke up. I just turned 30. I was just kind of riding this super high on my career. I just felt so fulfilled in many ways, and like I was taking my power back and like feeling confident, and at the same time incredibly scared, like doing a big move to Japan by myself. Oh my God, you guys, I remember like getting on the airplane and just like having a full emotional breakdown. Because after all the stress of getting everything packed up and like the logistics and getting visa and getting Campbell all of her shots and like blood lab tests and buying the ticket and all yada yada yada, it's just like then you're finally on the airplane and it's happening and there's no turning back. So fast forward 5.5 years, like I think it's a miracle that I went past the 5-year mark. I will be honest that when 5 years was coming up, I was getting that antsy, okay, what's next? And I recently made the decision to stay. And so I'm curious what that's gonna look like. Yeah, but I want to talk more, but I'm gonna finish up all these. I'm gonna finish up the laundry. So give me a second. Oh my God, my apartment's so horrid. But okay, so after this, for being so patient, I'm definitely going to give you a little apartment tour when the apartment's clean. But next, we're gonna go up to this loft, which is an interesting design of the apartment. I think it's really meant for a bed, but I'm not climbing these stairs every night. So I just use it for storage, but it definitely needs some cleaning. So we're gonna go up there. Great. Yes, we are in the loft, and it's even small for me. That's saying a lot because I am not even 5 feet tall. But I'm checking my levels. Might be better. Welcome to the loft. It is quite a mess. You know, when I first moved to Japan, I actually quite prided myself in being neat and tidy. But I think after COVID, it's just like, fuck it, right? Whatever. But I think there's definitely a boundary to what I can tolerate. So the loft, I have miscellaneous items. A lot of it's my photography equipment. Shout out to my friend Miyuki, who is storing a lot of her gear here in exchange for letting me use it. So a lot of that is here, but then I also have like travel stuff. I have camping gear. I have like workout fitness stuff. I have Campbell's like cat cage. And so, yeah, I just kind of want to tidy things up, and then I'll continue asking questions. And yeah, and after being so patient, I'm definitely going to do like a little Tokyo apartment tour after everything's all cleaned up, because my apartment is not in a state for you to see it yet, for sure. So I'm kind of thinking of like what questions you guys would have. So, okay, maybe a question you might have is like, how did it all go down? How did I manage to move here? Especially if you're thinking about moving here. So I have to really acknowledge how privileged I was working for Twitter at the time, because I was basically making a local move. It wasn't like I wasn't an expat per se. I was getting hired locally. I got paid in Japanese yen. And therefore, basically, Twitter was just supporting my relocation. And they generously covered all of my moving expenses. So that included a pretty big budget. I think it was at the time like 22,000 US dollars. Yeah. 22,000 US dollars to kind of use as I deemed fit for the move. So that included actually like shipping my things, my plane ticket, anything that had to do with like Campbell's like the checklist that you have to do to bring pets over here. What else did I need? Any expenses that had to do with finding an apartment. They didn't cover my apartment, so it wasn't an expat package where they actually were paying my rent. I was actually just paying my rent, but they helped pay for like support locally. So things that you take for granted living in your own country, but like finding a bank, where I had to also get a Hanko stamp, which is the first time I heard of that. And then like working with a real estate agent to find a good apartment. And it was kind of like a month-long process until I found one. And this is one of the choices now that I'm living in now. But up until I moved into this apartment, I was living in one of those Oakwood apartments, those service apartments that are fully furnished. So I was there for about a month near Tokyo Tower. I can't remember if they also, I think I also used some of the budget to help me move. Now I'm remembering. So I basically lived out of my suitcase for that first month in Tokyo. And when I found a permanent place, that's when they took all of my things from San Francisco that they were holding in storage and then shipped it to my new apartment. So that's when I finally got all of the rest of my wardrobe and just like anything else that I packed to live here. Before I keep talking, I'm just gonna start cleaning up, because if I keep talking, I'm never gonna clean stuff clean. Which was the whole point of making this video, was to clean. Yay! Humidifier, because in the winter it gets really dry here. And yes, like, you have to buy a plane ticket for your pet, by the way. It's reasonable. I think Campbell was like $250 on United Air, but you do have to like reserve that in advance. I don't know what their policies are, but I'm sure they like have a cap on like how many animals they can bring on board at a time. And if your animal is under 10 kg, I think, you can actually bring them in the cabin with you. So thankfully, I didn't have to get stressed or anxious about Campbell being in the cargo, because I've heard some nightmare stories about pets being in cargo, and like not just nightmare stories, but like tragic stories. So I'm so happy that, you know, she was 3 years old at the time. She's nine now, or turning 9. So she was definitely tiny enough. I think even if I went back to the States or moved to another country, she'd still be considered tiny enough to fly in the cabin with me. So that was so nice. She like basically was under the seat in front of me. I attempted to give her some like sleepy calming medicine in the morning, but she was totally onto me and didn't take it. So if I can remember, I think she went to the toilet at least before we left. But just in case, like I brought like extra food and water and pet wipes, I think, and like those pee-pee pads I put in her carrier just in case. But she was like a trooper, and I was so lucky. I sat in a 3-seat row by the window. Nobody was sitting in the middle, and then the woman sitting at the aisle, she saw that I had a cat, and she leaned over to me and she was like, "Hey, like I love animals. Like if you want to take her out during the flight, I won't say anything," which was so nice. So I also bought like Campbell a leash at the time, just in case. So I mid-flight I put her in a leash, and so she wouldn't like get freaked out, because it's quite loud in the plane. And kept her on leash, and she was just like exploring out the window and like on my lap, and definitely meowing a bit, because she just wasn't. She was like, "What the hell is going on?" But that was, I want to thank that woman for just being so kind, and letting me, make Campbell as comfortable as possible. You know, what am I doing here? One huge lesson learned was you don't take your cat through the x-ray machine at the security. I mean, I think that sounds, you're probably just like, yeah, duh, Shelly. But imagine me, I'm coming to the airport, my roommate dropped me off at the airport, and he was like so kind. I love my roommate from San Francisco. He like walked me through the whole process until he had to say goodbye to me at TSA. And I was already emotional at that point, and just like not thinking straight. When I was checking in a United Air at the counter, oh my God, can you imagine? Like you're ready to move to another country. You've packed up, you moved out, you have your 1 suit or 2 suitcases you're gonna bring with you, your cat, and that's it. and you go to the United Airlines counter and they're like, oh, sorry, we don't see your reservation for your cat. I just started bawling at the counter. I just like was like, no fucking way. I have receipts. Like, it is confirmed. Like, I just think the person I was dealing with was new, and she didn't know like just the protocol for like checking animals onto a flight. And so she wasn't looking in the right place. Thankfully, the manager came, and she was like, you know, click, clack, clack, oh, got you. And I was like, oh my God, don't give me a heart attack. So that all worked out. But I'm already, at this point, just like flustered. I'm already super emotional about leaving, but then saying goodbye to my roommate, the last person I'm seeing in U.S. soil. And so as I'm going through TSA, I'm a little confused, and I'm just like, okay, wait, how does this go? Like, do I put my cat through the conveyor belt? And so I kind of like get the security guard's attention, the one that's like standing by the, oh my God, what are those called? The thing that, the thing that goes beep, beep, beep. Oh my God, the security gate. Oh my God, so I like kind of wave him. I'm just like, hey, I'm showing him that I have a pet carrier, and it has like that big orange tag, right? That's how they like indicate that you're bringing a pet onto the flight. And I point at the carrier, and then I point at the conveyor belt. I was like, do I put this into that? And he was like, yes. He like gave me a confirmation, said yes. And so I was like, okay, so that's what I do. And then I put her in along with my other like carry-on. And the next thing I know is the security officer on the conveyor belt was like, he was kind of like upset. He was like, who put a cat on the X-ray belt? And I was like, that's me. Like, and then I pointed to the guy that told me to put it on the conveyor belt. I was like, he told me to do it. And he was like, no, that's not right. And at that point, I just started crying even more, because I thought I just harmed my cat. Like, who knows, like, what kind of x-rays are happening with her. And, you know, she's meowing. And then thankfully, like, this woman behind me was comforting me. She was like, your cat is okay. Like, you're going to be fine. Like, that guy was an asshole that told you to put your cat on the conveyor belt. Just like really trying to comfort me. But then it kind of escalated, because I mean, I have to give it up to TSA at San Francisco airport, because there are definitely really good people there that were trying to assess the situation and calm me down, but also make sure that Campbell was getting her proper checks in order to get through security at the airport. And basically, if you are checking a cat, you can just have them inspect the cat and her carrier in like a private room, kind of off to the side. So that's what we ended up doing. But then I started explaining to the officer, like, yeah, I was instructed to do this. And basically, that officer confronted that other guy and was just like, you owe her an apology. But that guy just never took accountability. He was just like, no, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't tell her to do anything. And of course, that just makes things worse. Like, when you are already super emotional and upset, and you're kind of, you're looking for closure from the person that victimized you. Does that make sense? It's never going to work out. You cannot expect that. So there was a point where I was just like, forget it. I just want to go. Like, this guy is not going to apologize. But I'm really appreciative that I think this officer was above him, maybe, or it could have been his peer. He was just basically telling him off that he made a mistake and that he did something wrong. So I just appreciate people who just like try to make a situation better, right? Like, we're all humans at the end of the day, right? We make mistakes, and that's fine. luckily nobody got hurt. Luckily, like, Campbell was okay, but I was like emotionally traumatized for real. So it, like, one little apology could have gone a long way, and the fact that this guy was so ego-centered that he couldn't even offer that says more about him than me, right? So it's just, whew. So that's just, I'm not even on the plane yet. So that was my experience. And so if you're traveling with a pet for the first time, like, I would, you know, try to prepare yourself as much as possible. Like, how did this process go? Like, ask the right questions, because I didn't do that. And so that's something I would have done over again if I had the chance. Welcome to my home. Take off our shoes. Oh, great. We take off our shoes. Yup. Put on some house slippers. All right, so I am giving you a tour with the caveat that my home is not perfect. It's not gonna be Instagram influencer clean, but I'm not striving for perfection. The whole point of me doing this YouTube video is to show you what my life is like for real. So here you enter my apartment, and then here's the shoe closet, and this is a must-have in Japan, the shoe horn. And then here's my toilet room. The toilet and the shower room are separated, and I have my nerdy Marvel posters in here, with this funky cat poster I got from New York. Spider-Man. But yeah, I have some storage up here, and this is a shower toilet, which is like so key. You can wash your bum, your front, your back. Oh, hello. Oh, I think she wants to go outside. Here you go. Bye. Bye-bye. Okay, so wait, okay. And then I have this like little bookshelf area. It's cute, very messy. And then, like I said earlier, you have to like go downstairs a little bit to get to the living room. And that's why I have these high ceilings, which is awesome. But yeah, this is the living room. Maybe let me back up and get a better. This is the living room. When you enter the room, to your left is the kitchen, which I cleaned the sink, which is awesome. It's a tiny kitchen. It has these two electric burners. and some storage over here. But like it fits me, and that's kind of it. Some storage up here, and the microwave, which is also an oven in Japan. You can actually bake things and cook things and grill things and toast bread. It's really amazing. And then my tiny fridge, which doesn't have much. I have all these affirmations around the apartment. Just been needing it. All of my running gear. But I showed this earlier. If you go to the top of this ladder, then you'll get to the loft up there, which is all my storage stuff. This window here has some plants, and then you can see I have a projector up there, which is awesome because then I project on this big blank wall, which is really nice. And then here's the washroom. Maybe some light. Their affirmation, I am enough. Here's the sink, some storage that I bought. And then here's the shower room, which is a very typical kind of Japanese shower room where you have the bathtub and then the shower area, which this is not, okay, there we go. The shower area, you have a mirror. And this is also because I don't have an outdoor space. This is also where I dry my laundry. There's a setting right here where you can dry your laundry. And then the washer, no dryer, just washer. You come out, and then here's like my little workspace now, post COVID-ish. It's a standing desk that I got on Amazon. And then my little dining table with my vision board. And then this is what I liked about this apartment, is that it actually had a separate bedroom, which was so key for me. I didn't want to have like a studio set up. So I have, I believe this is like a queen size. But it's like double in Japanese. It's called double. It has a lot of storage underneath. And it has like a bookshelf thing with some storage on the side. And then I have a wardrobe with a plant. And this is Campbell's little hangout up here, this basket that a neighbor made. She's really talented. Another little desk that I never use. I just use it for storage. And a mirror with some storage in the back, and I could put my purses. But here's the fun bit, here's Campbell's tower. And then if you go follow it, right here, you can see like a little pet door. And that is where she goes in and out, because the ground floor is like on this level, the street level. So she has no problem coming in and out. But honestly, like that is my little Tokyo apartment. So thanks for hanging out with me and hearing my story. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. I would totally be down to answer any questions about moving to Japan, anything about that, other things that maybe I forgot to talk about. Just let me know in the comments. Thank you so much. Mata ne!